Why, hello there everybody, it is me, XfreezerBunny, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. Today I am so excited to finally welcome you all back to Newcrest for another installment of Redesign Newcrest. I am so excited to finally be back with this series after a brief absence because I wanted to give myself some time to properly enjoy Snowy Escape. And now that that's all done, I'm so excited to finally go on with this series because I know a lot of you have been really excited to see some updates. So since this is my first build of the new year, I just want to take a second to wish you all a happy and healthy new year. And I know that things haven't been so good for the first couple of weeks of 2021. I saw the news and it's not good out there, so if you're one of the people going through some tough times right now, please know that my thoughts are with all of you and hopefully things get better soon for all of us. So yeah, I also deliberately chose to do this build for my first build of 2020 because it is a Shinto shrine and the Japanese have a practice called Hatsumode, which is basically the first shrine or temple visit of the year, and I felt like it was very appropriate to do that for this build as well. So welcome to my Shinto shrine build. I know this is a highly requested build, but like I said, I wanted to wait until the new year to do this because I wanted to time it perfectly. Plus, with all of the new items that came with Snowy Escape, doing this was so satisfying, or was a lot more satisfying because I got way more items to use that actually work for the whole Shinto shrine aesthetic. So I'm going to be talking more about that later on, but first of all, I do want to make the distinction between Shinto shrines and Japanese temples because I noticed there can be quite a bit of confusion when it comes to that, especially for those people who may not be all that familiar with Japanese culture. So the best way I can describe it is that shrines are specifically for the Shinto religion, whereas temples are specifically for the Buddhist religion. Now there is a difference between those two religions. Shinto is the indigenous religion that originated in Japan, whereas Buddhism is a religion that was introduced to Japan through mainland Asia. Now these two religions, interestingly enough, coexist in Japan, and many Japanese people actually practice both religions. So it's a very interesting topic. I will look at some videos if you're interested. One of my favorite Japanese YouTubers, Life Where I'm From, did a special video specifically on Shinto shrines, so I will put that in the link in the description if you guys are interested to learn more about that. But for this shrine in particular, I wanted it to be a bit of a contrast to the temple build I did last year because my temple was pretty imposing, it was pretty monumental. I built it on the largest lot in Newcrest and it was pretty epic. This one, I wanted it to be a little bit more humble in a way, or like simple. Basically for this build, I wanted to follow the principle of wabi-sabi, which is basically a Japanese principle of appreciating, you know, the natural state of things. So as you can see, the shrine itself is very small and a lot of the textures that I used are natural textures. A lot of them are also worn out textures as well, so hopefully you can see that. I know I say this in many of my recent builds, but I had so much fun building this. To be honest, this is probably one of my favorite builds. It's not the most functional build, but in terms of aesthetic, I'm really satisfied with how it came together in the end, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. For such a small build, I have to say it's actually quite a long video. It's even longer than some of my larger builds compared to this one because, as you can see, I am using a lot of the tool mod to manipulate items because basically the game is just very limited. So I wanted to use the tool mod to my advantage to really get the effect that I wanted, and I'm really happy that I did, because a lot of the features that you would typically see in Shinto shrines wouldn't have been possible without the tool mod. Now that being said, I will say that you can still send your sim in here and, you know, enjoy some functionality that you would also see in Shinto shrines in real life. I put one of those wishing boards, which is an item that you see in many Japanese shrines and temples. You basically write your wish on a piece of wood and you hang it on there. They have it in The Sims, they have it in Mount Komorebi. You can even take a selfie with that board as well, so I put one of those items in here. I also put the neighborhood shrine, which you can also find in Mount Komorebi. I put it on one side of this lot, so if you want to, you can take a selfie, and I think you can do other interactions with it as well. And also there's a little shop that is in this lot. If you actually switch the lot type into a retail venue, you can actually set the items for sale. So if you're really into role-playing like that, you can actually send your sim in here to buy some little trinkets and charms. But here, I am really excited to show you what I did. So basically, this is supposed to be the purification font, which you would typically see in the entrance of shrines. Basically, before you enter a Shinto shrine, you are supposed to cleanse yourself with the water, and it's a whole ritual. Basically, I tried my best to capture the look of it using a fountain that I rotated using the tool mod, and I am putting these sized up spoons, I guess. So yeah, I think it's a spatula actually, but yeah, I sized them up and I think they look pretty convincing. I also used those bamboo fountains as well that came with Snowy Escape, and I think the effect is pretty good. I think I managed to capture the look of those fonts. I forget what they're called. There's a Japanese name for that, obviously, but I don't actually remember. So I'm just gonna call it a water purification area. And also notice that in the main shrine itself, in the main entrance, there is a little bell with a string attached to it. And again, that is a typical practice that you do in Japanese Shinto shrines. You basically ring the bell to get the attention of the kami, which is a deity that is typically enshrined in Shinto shrines. I will talk more about that because I'm still not finished with that area. As you can see, I'm a little bit all over the place with this build. Right now we're actually doing the shop area, and this is the one I was talking about. You can actually, you know, turn this into a retail lot and sell things. You know, you can even buy this lot and, you know, maybe do gameplay where you pretend like you're a priest selling, you know, little trinkets and amulets to people. I think that works. Also, I was very indecisive with the roof here. I wanted the elaborate roof to be in the main shrine, so I tried to simplify the roof pieces in the other structures. I'm also using a technique that I came up with where I'm rotating those roof pieces from Snowy Escape basically to add some more authentic traditional Japanese roof accents. And for the shop itself, basically all I did was use some of those, I think those are envelopes from the Chinese New Year update. Yeah, they're not really the same as the Japanese charms that you can get in Shinto shrines, but those are the closest I can get. So I tried my best to make them look accurate. But yeah, it's not the same. unfortunately we don't really have much of a choice when it comes to that. But yeah, this is the shop. I also put a cash register in here as well. I don't think I have footage of that, but there is a cash register, so if you want to set this up as a retail, you don't need to renovate it, just change the lot type. I think by default I will make this into a generic lot or maybe a park. No, actually I don't like setting up lots as parks because it requires you to put like a playground and like some chess tables. I'm like, so annoying to make it fit. But yeah, this is the shop. As you can see, I put like a little teru teru bozu, which is another amulet. It's supposed to ward off bad weather. And I sized up some trays from Debug, and this is where I'm gonna put the little amulets that are for sale. And we have some, I think these are map markers from, or path markers from Mount Komorebi. I just made them look like signs for the different items that are on for sale. Unfortunately, we didn't really get a lot of Japanese signs with Snowy Escape, so had to make do. They do have some weird arrows pointing somewhere, which is weird, but yeah. Oh, also, you see that little notice board to the side? You can also interact with it. I think it gives you some info about Mount Komorebi, so if you're planning to live here and traveling to Mount Komorebi, it might be best to check out that info board before you go there. I also put some green tea, or at least I think it's green tea. These are basically like tea containers that are supposed to look like they're for sale. I imagine these are different varieties of tea that are locally available, locally made. And I also know that you can buy like some fortunes in these kinds of areas. You know, you can pick a fortune and it's gonna tell you if you're gonna have bad luck or good luck or whatever. So yeah, this is basically the whole point of this area. And I also put some magazines over there as well to make it look like some guidebooks are also available as well. Yeah, I think so far what's happening right now is pretty straightforward, so I think I'm going to give you a little bit of a life update. So, as you know, if you've been following my recent builds, you would know that I have been really into collecting Nendroids, and I still am. So far, I have ordered 3 Nendroids for the month of January. And I definitely am expecting to order some more soon. I also pre-ordered Nendroids last month as well. I'm gonna update you on which ones those are when they arrive. But one thing that I do want to share with you guys is that I've recently started getting back into reading manga. Now, it's weird because I did have a phase when I was in high school where I read a lot of manga, but after that, I haven't really gotten back into it. Like, I think for the past 10 years, I've been reading manga intermittently, not as much as when I read a lot when I was in high school. So yeah, I've recently started to try to get back into it, and the reason for that is because I actually stumbled on a copy of the box set for Death Note, the manga. And I was like, you know what? Out of all of the mainstream, highly acclaimed anime, Death Note is the one that I actually haven't watched. This is perfect. I have no idea what the story is about. And also, it's a box set, which means it's a completed edition of the manga, right? So I don't have to go through that effort of hunting down all of the different volumes, because that happened to me before, where, you know, I mean, living in the countryside in the Philippines, you really don't get a lot of choice when it comes to manga. So I just bought whichever ones were available, and unfortunately a lot of the manga that I did own had some missing volumes. That happens to me so much. So when I saw that box set, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna grab this. It's a pretty reasonable price for a complete box set, so you know, let's get into it. And I gotta say, it is so good, you guys. I'm not surprised that Death Note is one of the most highly acclaimed animes, because the manga itself, I read the first volume in like 3 days, and I read the second volume in like 2 days, and now I'm working through volume 3. So yeah, I've been really enjoying myself. Please don't spoil it. I swear I'm gonna block people who tell me spoilers. But because of this, I recently started hunting down a lot of manga as well, and of course a lot of them are BL yaoi manga. I'm gonna update you when those arrive, but I've already made my orders, and I'm also trying to get into ongoing manga as well. So really excited to get my copies of some ongoing stuff. So yeah, we'll talk more about that in my future videos, because I just noticed that I talked over a lot of really important stuff in this build. So first of all, I built that shrine offering box in front, just underneath the bell. So basically, once you've done the water cleansing ritual, you then proceed to going into the main shrine itself, and then you offer money, typically 5 yen coins, because of this auspicious meaning or something. I don't know, it's from Noragami, the anime. I don't know, it's a thing. Yeah, I think the kami likes the number 5. And then you ring the bell to catch the attention of the kami. Now, I mentioned the kami many times. If you don't know what that is, a kami is basically a deity in Shinto religion, and basically kami can be anything from, you know, mythological beings to historical figures. They can even be natural sights or inanimate objects, and basically they are the object of worship for Shinto shrines. Typically, each shrine has a kami that is enshrined. Right now we're working on the interior of the shrine, and as you can see, the main feature of the interior is actually this mirror in the middle of the altar. And basically the mirror, I believe, is supposed to represent the kami. So when people are worshipping, they basically see a reflection of themselves, and I believe what this is supposed to mean is that the mirror is supposed to be kind of like an intermediary between the human and the divine world. So it's a way for you to kind of reach out to the kami or to the deity. So that's basically the meaning behind the mirror. I definitely tried to incorporate one. And I also put some other ceremonial objects as well, such as offerings and some other typical paraphernalia that you would see in Shinto shrines. But I think the most interesting would be this one, which, as you can see, it is called a shide, and it's basically a folded piece of paper. Once again, it has a very auspicious meaning when it comes to the Shinto religion, and obviously I went through a lot of effort to actually recreate it because we don't have one in the game. But I used some paintings. Actually, this is the large painting that I just sized down, rotated on an angle, and I assembled it to look like a shide, and you know, I think it looks pretty legit, if I do say so myself. As you can see, I did go through a lot of effort to make this accurate, so hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully I did justice to it, because I really tried my best to research and make this as accurate of a representation of a Shinto shrine as I can. If you have any suggestions on how I can further improve this build to make it more accurate, please let me know, because I haven't actually been to a Shinto shrine myself, and I would be really interested to see if there's some way I can improve this. So please let me know if you have any suggestions in the comments down below. But now we are working on the landscaping. Once again, I went for that whole naturalistic look. I wanted to look overgrown, so a lot of the rocks are like mossy and a lot of the trees are kind of overgrown. And as you can see, I just placed that little neighborhood shrine once again, you can interact with it. And also that wishing tree from Journey to Batu, actually, which has those little knots tied onto the tree itself, which is something that I feel like you would see in Shinto shrines, because you know when you have one of those fortunes, right? If you have a bad fortune, I think you're supposed to tie it to somewhere. I think you're supposed to tie it to a tree or like to a board or something. But yeah, I put that tree over there. You can't actually interact with it unless you do the Journey to Batu gameplay, so good luck with that. I don't know, because I haven't really played the Journey to Batu, so and now we are actually doing some more decorations for the tori. Now the tori is the symbol of Japanese shrines, and they're probably the easiest way to distinguish a shrine from a temple, because a tori can only be found in Shinto shrines, whereas a pagoda can only be found in temples. So it's not a foolproof thing though, because you know some shrines do have pagodas because of history and stuff. But for the tori itself, I tried to use those wall pieces from base game to make it look like it has a knot with some shide on it, and yeah, it's basically another traditional aspect as well that I wanted to incorporate into this build. So yeah, I think that's actually going to be it for this build. Hopefully I didn't forget anything important. If I did, I will just put it in a pinned comment down below. But yeah, there's so much to talk about, so much to catch up on, but I'm so happy to finally be back, and I'm excited to hear from you guys. So yeah, talk to me in the comments below. So other than that, I think I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.